Hello everyone, this is the theory part of the mock exam we've been solving. If you enjoy the videos, please like the videos and kindly subscribe to the channel. For question 1 here, we have a logarithm problem. Log base 10 of 5y minus 4 is equal to log y plus 1 base 10 plus log 4 base 10. We are working with the same base in this question. So the right hand side can be simplified because you should know that when we have log x base a plus log y base a, it is equivalent to log x y base a. That is, when we have the same base of a number of a logarithm added together, that means it is equivalent to the product of those numbers and the base will still be the same, which is base a. That would mean that on my right hand side, it is the same thing as log base 10 of y plus 1 multiplied by 4, which can be rewritten as log base 10 of 4 multiplied by y plus 1. I just brought the 4 in front of the y plus 1. So another rule of logarithm that you should know is that when two logarithms are equal and they have the same base, that means the numbers are also the same. So for example, we have log p base a equals to log q base a. We can see that these logarithms have the same base. That means the numbers, which is p and q, are also the same. Now, that would mean that in this question, 5y minus 4 equals to 4 multiplied by y plus 1. And that would mean that 5y minus 4 equals to 4y plus 4. 5y minus 4y equals to 4 plus 4. That means y equals to 8. And that's the answer to the question. For question 1b, a motorist traveled 3 kilometers at an average speed of 75 kilometers per hour and returned at an average speed of v kilometers per hour. If his average speed for the whole journey is 60 kilometers per hour, find v. Well, from this last part of the question, we are told that we are given the value of the average speed for the whole journey. That means if, say for example, the motorist is traveling from, let's say, city A to city B. Now, we are told that the distance he traveled is 300 kilometers, right? So from A to B is 300 kilometers and returned at an average speed of v that we're asked to calculate. So that means from B to A, he also traveled 300 kilometers. Since we are not being told that he changed route or something happened on the way and he had to go through another route, we are not told any of that. That means the distance from A to B is the same thing as the distance of B to A. That means the entire journey is the total distance covered is going to be 300 kilometers plus 300 kilometers, and that's 600 kilometers. We've been given the average speed of the whole journey to be 60 kilometers per hour. That means average speed for the whole journey is given to be 60 kilometers per hour. So if you remember the formula for average speed, we know that it is the total distance covered divided by total time taken. The average speed we are given is 60 and the total distance we calculated is 600. So the total time taken, let's represent it with capital T. That means capital T is going to be, or let's say 60T, when we cross multiply, it's 600. That means capital T is 600 over 60, and that's 10 hours. So the total time taken is 10 hours. But that's not what the question asked us. We are asked to find the value of V. That is the average speed of his return journey. But it is quite simple to find that. If we can calculate the time taken for the first part of the journey, I mean when he was moving from the first, from the point where he left to his destination, we can find the time taken when he's returning. So for the first part, that is when he was traveling, we are told that the distance is 300 kilometers and the speed is 75 kilometers. Let's also remember that speed is distance over time, right? So that means 75 equals to distance, which is 300 kilometers all over time. Let's represent this time with T1, since it is the first part of the journey. That means 75 T1 equals to 300. That would mean that T1 is equivalent to 300 over 75. When you calculate this, you'll get 4 hours. That means for the first part of the journey, he spent 4 hours. So if he spent 4 hours for the first part of the journey, and the total time for the whole journey, the entire journey, is 10 hours, that means the time taken for the second part, for the return journey, is equals to 10 minus 4 hours. And that's going to be 6 hours. Yet, we've not found our answer because the question is asking us for the average speed of his return journey, which has been represented by V. But now it will be easy for us to calculate since we know the time and we know the distance. So that means V, we've already written the formula. V, which is the speed of the return journey, equals to the distance, which is 300 kilometers, divided by the time, which is 6 hours. That means V is 5 kilometers per hour. So that's the average speed of his return journey. You can see that this question spans just 2 lines and it requires us to actually think before we solve the question. So because the question looks simple does not actually mean the solution is going to be short or brief. In this question, we are told the mean of 10 positive numbers is 16. When another number is added, the mean becomes 18. Find the 11th number. So we know that mean is equals to sum of values divided by number of values. So the first mean of the 10 numbers is 16. We don't know the sum of those numbers. So sum of values divided by number of values, which is 10, because we are told that there are 10 positive numbers. So that means the sum of values, the first 10 numbers, is 16 multiplied by 10, and that's 160. Now that we know the sum of the first 10 numbers, another number is added. So let's say, let x be the new number added. Let x represent the number added. That means originally, or let me say initially, the first 10 numbers sums up to 160. Now that a number is added, it would mean that that number plus 160 is now this new sum of values. So we are told that the new mean is 18. So that means 18 equals to 160 plus x divided by 11, because when you add one number to 11, it becomes one number to 10, that's 11. So when we cross multiply, we'll have 18 multiplied by 11 equals to 160 plus x. The product of 18 and 11 is 198. So 160 plus 198 equals to 160 plus x. And to find x, 198 minus 160, that means 38 equals to x. The value of x is 38. So that means the 11th number is 38. In this question on probability, the probabilities that Ada and Tayo will pass an exam is 2/3 and 3/4 respectively. If both of them take the examination, find the probability that exactly one of them would pass. Well, what the question is asking us is that just Ada or Tayo passes the exam. So in probability, this is how to solve it. So the probability that Ada passes the exam is 2/3. So if the question is asking us that exactly one of them would pass, that would mean that either Ada passes and Tayo fails, or Tayo passes and Ada fails. That means we need to calculate the value of the probability of when each of them fails the exam. So the probability that Ada fails now is going to be 1 minus 2/3, and that's 1/3. At the same time, the probability that Tayo passes is given to be 3/4. That means the probability that Tayo fails the exam is 1 minus 3/4, and that's 1/4. Now that we've calculated this, the probability that exactly one, that means that's the probability that Ada passes and Tayo fails, or probability that Tayo passes the exam and Ada fails. So what's the probability that Ada passes? That's 2/3, and the probability that Tayo fails is 1/4. Remember that it is going to be the product. That's what this "and" means. So that's the probability that Ada passes and Tayo fails. Or, which means addition, Tayo passes, which is 3/4, and Ada fails, which is 1/3. That means 2/12 plus 3/12, and that equals to 5/12. So the probability that exactly one of them would pass is 5/12. In this question, we are told that the width of a rectangle is 4 centimeters less than the length. So let's have a sketch. So if, let's say for example, we represent the length by x. So if, let x represent the length of this rectangle. So that means if this side is x, we are told from the question that the width is 4 centimeters less than the length. That means this side, which is the width, will be x minus 4 centimeters. If the area of the rectangle is 192 square centimeters, and remember that the area of the rectangle is given as the product of the length and the width. That means A, which is given to us as 192, equals to length, which is x multiplied by x minus 4. So if I expand what I have on the right hand side, that would be x squared minus 4x. So we can see that this is actually looking already like a quadratic expression. So let me just rewrite this equation to be x squared minus 4x equals to 192. I've not changed anything. I just brought what is on the left hand side to the right hand side, and I can actually do that since this is not an inequality. It is only when you have an inequality that when you change from one side to another, you have to change the inequality sign as well. So now x squared minus 4x equals to 192. To solve this, I can say x squared minus 4x minus 192 equals to 0. So let's factorize. When we have expressions like this, you look at the coefficient of x squared. Since the coefficient of x squared is 1, that means what you need to find is the factors of your constant term. In our case, it is minus 192. So what two numbers will multiply to give us minus 192, but when we add them, it is going to give us minus 4, which is the coefficient of x. So this is the expression x squared minus 4x minus 192. So if you find the factors of 192, you'll find out that it is 16 and 12 that will give you 192, and negative 16 positive 12 will actually add up to give you minus 4, because minus 16x plus 12x is actually negative 4x, which is the coefficient, which is the middle term or the coefficient of x. So now that we've established that, rather than spending time on the traditional method of factorizing quadratic expression, it is quite simple. We can just say, since our unknown is x, just open two brackets. Then since your numbers are minus 16 and positive 12, so just write minus 16 and positive 12 equals to 0. So we've simplified, we've factorized the expression right here. But you can save yourself from not losing any mark at all and use the traditional method. So I'm going to clean this and use the traditional method, which is the same thing as x squared minus 16x plus 12x minus 192 equals to 0. So you factorize the first two and the last two terms. So the common factor to x squared and minus 16x is x. So x minus 16. The common factor to 12x and minus 192 is also 12. So I'll bring out that common factor, which is positive 12. And I'll have x minus 16 as well. So you now pick one of the brackets, which is x minus 16, then what you have outside the first bracket, which is x, and what you have outside the second bracket, which is positive 12, which is the same thing as what we got earlier. So from here, we'll see that x minus 16 equals to 0 or x plus 12 equals to 0. That means x is 16 or x is negative 12. Since we represented x as length, and we know that we cannot have a negative value for length, that means x is 16. Length cannot be negative. So that means we are only going to work with the length, which is 16 centimeters. Now we can actually find the width, which is x minus 4. That's 16 minus 4 centimeter, which is 12 centimeter. Now we have not actually finished solving the question, or let me say we've not solved the question at all. The first part asked us to find the perimeter of the rectangle. So the perimeter of the rectangle is going to be 2 into brackets L plus W or B. So which is 2 into L which is 16, plus W, which is 12. That means 2 multiplied by 28 centimeters, and that will give us 56 centimeters. That's the perimeter of this triangle. Now, for the second part, we have to find the angle which the diagonal makes with the length, correct to the nearest degree. Well, the diagonal of a rectangle, so from this point to this point, or the other way around. Now, the angle which this diagonal makes with the length, well, the longer side is the length, so we are asked to find this angle right here. So let's represent it with theta. If we bring out the triangle rather, this is the width, this is the length, and this is the diagonal. So this is theta, this is the length, which is 16 centimeter, and the diagonal, which we don't know, but we know the width, which is 12 centimeters. So to find the angle which we've represented with theta, it is quite easy. We have the adjacent side, which is 16 centimeters, and the opposite side, which is 12 centimeters. So that means the trig ratio we'll use is tan. So tan theta equals to opposite, which is 12, over adjacent, which is 16. That means tan theta is, when you press this on your calculator and approximate to 4 significant figures, you will have 0.7500, which is something as 0.75. That means theta is going to be arctan 0.75, which is 36.86989. I can just stop at 36.87 degrees. Now, we have to find that angle correct to the nearest degree. That means the diagonal makes 37 degrees with the length. So we can just write equivalent to or approximate to 37 degrees to the nearest degree. So that's solution to question 3A. For question 3B, we have sets. Given that the universal set U is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and X is 1, 3, 5, 7, we are asked to find X complement intersection Y. So let's just quickly find X complement. That is the elements that are in the universal set but are not in X. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So the first part of the question is going to be X complement intersection Y. Is going to be, well, Y is 1, 5, and 8. So what do these expressions have in common? This expression right here, as well as this expression right here, what do they have in common? It is simply just 8. That means X complement intersection Y is 8. For the second part, X complement union Y everything, then the complement of everything. So we have to find X complement union Y. So when we have union, that means we are merging two or more sets together without repeating the common numbers or common values. So X complement union Y is going to be 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8. We are not going to write that 8 twice. So now X complement union Y, then everything complement is going to be, what are the elements that are in our universal set but are not in x complement union y, and that's 3 and 7. So that means x complement union y complement is 3 and 7. We are required to find the value of x in this diagram. Well, we can say that we have parallel lines. AB is parallel to DC, and at the same time, MD, the M written here is actually supposed to be A. MD is also parallel to AC. So we have the two common angles that are usually formed when we have a transversal and two or more parallel lines is alternate angles and corresponding angles. So if we look at angle CAD given to us, which is 47 degrees, you'll see that it is parallel to the angle BAC. It is alternate. Angle CAD is equal to angle BAC because they are alternate angles. So this is the it is ACD, not CAD. ACD. The angle here, 47 degrees, it is alternate to the angle here. If you look carefully, you see that they form the letter Z, something like this. So when we have such, when our diagram is looking like letter Z or sometimes letter N, this is what I mean. So if this is actually supposed to be a straight line, if this is 33 degrees, this place will also be 33 degrees. If this place is Y, this place is also going to be Y because they are alternate angles. They usually look like letter Z or letter M. So if you look carefully at this angle ACD 47 degrees, you will see that it is alternate to BAC, and the alternate angles are equal when it comes to parallel lines. So that means the angle here is 47 degrees. Now, having noted that, you can see that this line AD is a straight line, right? So if we have 83 degrees here and we have 47 degrees here, that means the third angle here, we can easily find it because they are angles on a straight line. And the sum of angles on a straight line is 180 degrees. That means 83 degrees plus 47 degrees plus angle CAD is equals to 180 degrees because they are sum of angles on a straight line. So 83 plus 47 degrees is going to give us 130 degrees plus angle CAD, that's 180 degrees. That means angle CAD is 180 degrees minus 130 degrees, and that's 50 degrees. So if this place is 50 degrees, now look carefully. Side AC, this line AC is parallel to MD, right? So that means this line AD is serving as the transversal, and also that means another angle is formed, alternate or corresponding. So you will see that this angle here, which is CAD, is alternate to angle X. Let me come again. This is angle X, right? If you look at it carefully, you will see that it is alternate to 50 degrees because it is forming something like N or Z, like I mentioned earlier. So if you want to use the analogy of N, this is it right here. You can see, or even if it is Z, it's still the same thing. So this is letter Z. So that means X is equal to angle CAD, which is 50 degrees because it is alternate to it. Usually for questions like this, there's usually more than one approach to answer the question. You can choose to use corresponding angles, the sure thing is that you will get the same answer if you solve carefully. In an AP, the first term is 3 and the sum of the first and sixth terms is 201. There is an error with this question. It is supposed to be 201. What is the eighth term? First of all, I want you to take note of something in this second part of the question. The sum of the first and sixth terms. Please be careful when you have questions like this. There's a difference between sum of the first six terms and what we have in the question. Sum of the first six terms means S6, where you apply the formula Sn equals to n over 2 into 2a plus n minus 1d. That's what first six terms is about. Sum of the first six terms rather. But this question, we are told the sum of the first and the sixth terms. That means we are talking about T1 plus T6. And T1 is usually represented with A, the first term. So it is A plus T6. So please take note when you have questions like this. Now, to solve the question, we are told that the first term is 3, that is A is 3, and the sum of the first and the sixth terms is 201. So A plus T6 is 201. Since we know our A already, that will be 3 plus T6 equals to 201. That means T6 is 201 minus 3, and that's 198. Remember that the formula for the nth term is Tn equals to A plus n minus 1 into d. So that means T6 will be equal to A, which is 3, plus n, which is the number that is 6, minus 1 multiplied by d. So since T6 is 198 that we've calculated, that means 198 equals to 3 plus 5d. So bringing 3 to where I have 198, 198 minus 3 equals to 5d. That means 195 equals to 5d, and d is going to be 195 divided by 5, and that will give us 39. Now the question asks us for the eighth term, that is T8. Well, T8 will be equals to A plus 8 minus 1 multiplied by d, which is A plus 7d. That means T8 will be equal to 3 plus 7 times 39. That will give us 3 plus 7 times 39 is 273, and that's going to give us 276. That means the eighth term is 276.